It should still look good, but it can't look so good that it looks fake, right? And a lot of this AI produced video and AI produced audio comes across, and we've developed an eye and ear for picking things out that aren't real.
Not quite
Some
right.
some people
Yeah.
have.
Thursday, Thursday, Thursday. Yes, it's time. Time for another Hard Hat CEO episode. And today I have a good friend here all the way from Canada, and his name's Warren Smile Pickup. And Warren, we're going to talk about some kind of sales and advertising today, aren't we? About
Fantastic. Yeah.
working for
Sounds like
you.
a great topic.
All right. Well, as we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about you before we get into our discussion?
Sure. I'm the CMO and COO of Pixel True, which is a design and marketing studio. So we work with small, medium businesses all the way up to KPMG as a client of ours. Essentially, we do things a little differently from most organizations. Rather than just making things look pretty, our focus is really on utilizing human psychology in the way that we do design. So people have a very specific process in which they make decisions. There's a lot of science behind it, concept called heuristics and cognitive biases. And so essentially what we do is we incorporate that decision-making process into the way that we create digital assets, whether it's websites, landing pages, that sort of thing. And this all comes from my background, having worked in finance. So I spent about 17 years working in finance, sold a little over $2 billion worth of product, and worked with thousands of different businesses to help them to understand their customers, to build out their marketing and sales plans, those sorts of things. And essentially took all of that knowledge that I gained in finance and took it over to the design and digital marketing side, and have really tried to implement that, something that's a little different from what's traditionally out there in the design and marketing marketplace, to focus on how do we shorten sales cycles, and how do we really get to the core, the crux of the problem that we're trying to solve.
Right. And that's interesting. As I mentioned, we have a lot of contractors, construction business owners,
Mhm.
and there's competition out there, obviously. How do we
Yeah.
set ourselves apart? How do you recommend doing that as a marketing agency?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, obviously there's the key topics like niching down and making sure that you understand your client and the problem that they're trying to solve. But really, I would say differentiation is about being able to explain how and why you are solving the problems that you are. So Simon Sinek, who's an incredible author, wrote about starting with why. And it's about being able to tell your story in a way that it actually places your ideal client, your customer, as the hero of your own story. So why are you trying to solve this individual's problem? Why are they important to you? And being able to explain that in a way that somebody feels like they're at the center of your business, not you pushing your business on them. If that makes sense. It's
Yeah,
really, you have to make the customer the hero of the story, rather than trying to make yourself the important and the pinnacle of what you're trying to tell.
so if they're the hero, who are we as we the storyteller, or
Yeah, we're the service provider. We're the one that's coming in to, we're the squire, essentially. If you're thinking of it from like historical knights and rescuing the princess sort of thing, we're the
Mhm.
ones that are helping to make them the hero of the story. We're coming alongside of them. We have a servant mentality. We want to ensure that we are solving their problems so that they can move forward without the pain that was coming with that problem. And that is what is going to drive people to purchase, is when they feel like their success is at the core of what it is you're trying to deliver.
Sure. Now, marketing and sales are, while they go hand in hand, are really two different things.
Yeah.
And marketing's, in my opinion, or at least in my philosophy, is marketing's job is to bring in the leads, to bring in the right leads, right, to the sales department.
Yep.
And then the sales guy then takes those leads and nurtures them, or whatever he does. Now,
Yeah.
marketing can do the nurturing too, I think, but The sales guy, he's the one-on-one person that kind of closes the deal, right?
That's right. Yeah, think of
So,
marketing as attention, sales as conversion.
okay. Was there anything different? I mean, the marketing and sales have to be congruent with one another, don't they? To
They
some
do.
extent.
Yeah, they have to be
Yeah.
telling the same story.
So they get the sales is almost an extension of the story, maybe.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
right?
right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Sales really needs to understand. So marketing is grabbing the attention of a group of individuals that are specific to the problem set that they're facing, and then handing those over to sales. Sales then needs to continue the story of, here's how we're going to assist you to solve this problem, and here's how here's the process that you're going to go through in order to actually come to resolution. So they're the continuation of the attention into somebody actually pulling the trigger, which is a very hard phase. It's difficult to do. You have to take a lot of no's. Marketing is kind of accustomed to hearing no's because
Yeah.
it's a purely a numbers game, whereas sales tends to be a little more interpersonal. You're developing relationships, and those no's hurt a lot more. So the sales individuals really need to be able to take that no, or be able to understand what are the blocks between where they are now and getting somebody to a yes. I would say that a salesperson is much better at asking the right questions than the marketing person is. The marketing person is good at putting the idea out there. The salesperson is good at going 3 to 4 levels deep to understand what the true problem behind the pain point is.
That's because they have to, well, A, listen to the answers,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have to,
They have to adapt.
yeah, based on
Yeah.
what they're saying,
Yeah.
and what the answers are, basically, and identifying those real pain points that that they're trying to solve, I guess, and we're here to help them do that.
Yeah.
It all starts with a strategy, right? A
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah. A marketing strategy is a key piece of that. Generally that's going to start with creating an ideal client profile and an avatar that represents it. It's about being curious around that person that you want to serve. Whether if you're in the trades, um, if you're building a particular style of home, or if it's you're doing a particular type of tiling, whatever it may be, you're trying to present a solution for a particular group of people. And so when you're working in marketing, you're trying to put that message in front of that group of people. And the strategy is, where are they already looking? So once you've built your avatar, you can dig deeper into where are they already getting their information, what is driving them to make decisions, who are the people that are affecting that decision making process. So all of these key components that are going to result in an overall marketing plan that identifies how you can influence these people to make a decision and get their attention so that they can move into the conversation stage with a sales professional.
Actually, earlier in, I guess, last week's episode, we talked about budgeting, then we talked about payroll and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when it comes to budgeting here, what type of percentage would you want to allocate of your budget to marketing and sales? Or I guess really marketing, sales kind of generate its own. I
Yeah.
mean, you have some expense, don't get me wrong, but the real money's in the marketing, and in the sales. If they're doing their job right, they're bringing in the money. So it's a kind of wash and repeat type thing. So
Yeah. Traditionally, most established businesses are spending somewhere between 10 and 15% of their revenue on marketing. Think of it as reinvesting in your business to keep your pipeline of leads full. Your sales team is probably going to take up that or more of your overall revenue, and then your cost of goods sold is going to make up another 30 to 40%, depending on what your labor cost structure is. Ideally, when we're looking at businesses and working with them, they're hopefully running at a 40 to 50% margin rate for their business. But it depends on different industries. There's different standards for that
40% on the gross or on the net.
on the gross.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Before we started recording, you and I were talking, and you mentioned word of mouth, and which is great. That's
Mhm.
just kind of like gravy on top, isn't it?
Yeah.
And organic as well. You consider, well, organic, I guess. still cost you something, just not as much as say paid ads or something like that. Would that be
Yeah.
true?
Yeah, so organic, we would generally consider organic to be, search engine optimization. So having blogs or your typical website where people are just naturally coming across your offer without any type of payment going out for it. So paid traffic would be, Google ads, social media ads, radio. All the traditional methodology for running advertising, whereas organic is just the stuff that's coming in without a paid marketing aspect to it. And word of mouth can be an organic piece, but it can also be something a little bit more if you actually have a strategy towards building word of mouth and utilizing referral strategy. So joining a group, whether it's BNI or some type of referral business organization is always an avenue towards that. An alternative that works really well is a concept called the deal before the deal. And so when you're going to discuss pricing with a potential customer, setting up the expectation that referrals or references is a part of the pricing package. So if you were talking to somebody and say, here's the ways that, here's how we charge, we're going to charge you upfront or there's going to be a deposit for the work that we're going to do. There's going to be a final payment. And then if you're happy with the work, I'm going to come back and ask you to provide me with the names of 3 individuals that you think could also benefit from this work. And so you're setting up the expectation that you're going to ask for a referral in the future so that it's not a surprise when you do ask. And that is an incredibly effective methodology for increasing the amount of referral business that you're going to generate for yourself.
I'm looking through my notes here, and I had conversations, but I want my audience to understand. You guys do websites,
Yep.
and that's one way of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed over the years, I believe, how not the usefulness of it, but how it's used, put it that way.
Yeah.
But there's also a landing page,
Mm-hmm.
which is also on the internet. What's the difference between that and a website, landing page and website, and how they use differently?
Yeah, so it's a really good question and one that is often confused. So your website is generally like an information page. It's meant to provide an overall picture of your brand, who you are, what your organization does. It is meant to drive conversions, but it's a more general site. Think of it as an educational resource for your customer to figure out who you are, what you do, that sort of thing.
Now, I don't know how old you are, but I used to be before the internet. We had brochures. Would that be like a digital brochure?
Yeah. You could think of it exactly like a digital brochure. There's a little more you can do with it than a paper-based brochure.
It's a lot more flexible. Yes, has a lot more advantages, no doubt.
Yes, it's significantly higher from a conversion perspective than a brochure. Whereas a landing page is a specific page. It could be on your website or anything like that you are driving to people towards based on a very, very specific intent that you want them to complete. So it's action based. So if I'm running a paid ad on Google for top tile setter in Missouri as an example, right? I want to send them to a page that is incredibly specific to the information that they clicked on. I don't want them going to a general information page about all of the different tile options that they can choose from, bathroom tile, kitchen tile, anything like that. I'm going to drive them to a very specific page that is designed to convert them to take one action, right? Whether it's contacting me, whether it's filling out a form for a quote, I want them to go through that and to tell a story that drives them to one action, one engagement. They tend to have a much higher conversion rate because they are very specific to what you want somebody to do, whereas websites tend to have much lower conversion rates. So a standard website, the average website, 1% to 3% of people that go to it are going to take action. Whereas a landing page, you're looking 5 to 7%. And if you've got thousands of people that are coming to visit, that difference between 3% and 7% is a massive difference in the number of leads that are coming to your business. So when you're say I was going to a conference as an example, and I'm showcasing my brand, and I'm talking to people at the conference, and I say, you know what, you should really check out this, the work that we've done with this previous customer. Here's where you're going to go to this website. I'm going to send them to something where I want them to look at what it is that I've done, and then immediately be offered a quote for work that we could do for them. I don't want them to just go to our general website, because it's going to be a much lower conversion rate. They're not necessarily going to know what to do, because it's for information rather than for a specific action. And so depending on how you are attracting customers, the type of attention that you are getting will determine whether you want your website or whether you want a landing page.
So on some past episodes, we've talked about the portfolios. You can have portfolio of pictures, portfolio of other things that you use. I mentioned portfolio of customers that you use, like a reference list and so forth. Now, you have what they call, or you talk about, marketing assets. So if my listenership was out there and we're going to take inventory of our assets, what kind of marketing assets do we should have, or that we can say we have, and then we should have as well?
Yeah, that's a really good question as well. So your website is one. Your social media is another. So across wherever your ideal customer is already consuming information, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Reddit, wherever it may be, you're going to have.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
So talking about social media, and there's a lot of platforms, and I don't personally do it, but my assistants do, and they use basically a calendar. And even though we take that same content, you can put it across the board, right? So you don't have to post individually.
Yeah.
You can post it once. Your software out there lets you post once and it goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one way to do it. And I do want to come back to that. So remind me of that as we go through, because that's a really good point. So you've got your social media, you've got your website. The next things would be your any case studies or white papers. So depending on the type of work that you're doing, you want something that specifically goes into depth about a particular experience that a customer of yours has had in dealing with your organization. So if I'm doing house construction, I'm going to have a particular page or a PDF document that somebody can download or get access to, where they're exchanging their email to me in it for that case study or white paper, where I go in depth about what we did, how we planned it out, the results that were generated, that sort of thing, so that they can get a really in-depth view of how you do the work and what the result is. And then, other digital assets, it really depends on the type of industry that you're in, but they could be technology documents. So, we work with a lighting company, and a part of that is scientific research around the differentiation in LED lights versus high pressure sodium lights. And there's all kinds of things that we can create that help to explain what and how you do things, to showcase your authority as an organization to your potential customer, to show them that you are the best choice for them at this point in choosing a provider of the service that you do. In terms of other digital assets that you might want, those would be the sorts of things. Webinars would be another digital asset. So video series of you showcasing the type of work that you do. Teaching education is a huge component of attracting attention now, because everybody has, there's YouTube. It is the world's largest library. It's the modern Library of Alexandria, right? And so having things on there that showcase your authority by providing education to your ideal clients is a really powerful way to have them then approach you, because the majority of people will start from a DIY perspective, right? They want to do it themselves. Then they uncover that it is way too much work. So they go, okay, well, maybe I'll hire somebody to help me with it. and then they realize that they don't have the knowledge, the experience, or the right people to do it. So then they go done for you, and that's when they actually bring in the professionals to take over and do it. And if you're the one that has educated them all along the way, you're naturally going to be the first person, the front of mind individual or organization that they're going to come to for that assistance. In terms of, let's go back to the social media
Sure.
and posting the same sort of content on all the different sites, and that is a very good it's a very good way to do it if you have a lower budget, right? If you're
Yep.
trying to get content out across all the different platforms, and you don't want to have to spend the time and money to create different content for different platforms. The challenge with that is you have different audiences on different platforms, right? So the audience that's on Instagram is very focused on the visual aspect of
Images or
what
something
you
like
put
that.
forward.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Whereas LinkedIn is not image driven, and it's not driven by putting up something flashy, right? It's a very professional background. You've got a very different client base that is reading and looking at things on LinkedIn than you do on Instagram. Then, to go to the extreme, you go to Reddit, and it is all text, right? Putting images and videos aren't necessarily going to get the same attention. And so you want to ensure that when you're building out your marketing plan and you're understanding who your ideal client profile is, where is it that they are getting their information as a group, right?
Hmm.
And they may not be on one of those platforms. Like a lot of the business owners that we work with, they're not on Facebook. Their staff might be on Facebook, but they're too busy to divide their attention into those different categories. They're not going and checking their Facebook, their Instagram, their TikTok, that kind of stuff. They're spending their time on LinkedIn because that's where the people that they communicate with are. And so targeting those areas where these people are already getting their information, and then making sure that that information conforms to the standards of that platform is a very, very important part of creating content for your business.
When you mentioned white papers, and real quick, could you explain what white papers are to some
Yeah.
people?
Yeah, a white paper is essentially like an information resource. So it's a document that walks through a particular piece of information. So if I'm talking about let's go back to tile setting, and I'm talking about the different uses of the type of grout that I want to use when I'm tile setting. Okay.
All right. Understand it.
I might write a paper on here's why this type of grout is going to be best for these types of situations. So if I'm building an outdoor shower versus building an indoor shower versus doing kitchen tiling or those sorts of things.
Porcelain versus
Yeah.
ceramic,
Yeah,
all that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going
Hmm.
to create an information piece that walks somebody through why they would want to use this type of grout versus this type of grout in these different situations. The idea is that you're putting these documents behind, it's not a paywall, but it's behind a gate, so that your potential customer has to make a micro commitment. So they have to exchange their email or their contact information in order to get access for that. It's an exchange of value.
Sure.
It allows you to then reach out to them to try to engage with them, drip on them, find an opportunity for you to then do business with them based on that exchange. And so if you can create a sequence of these with more and more information, you can then feed those people into your email marketing and create a drip campaign where you're just hitting them up every, you know, uh, once a month, once every quarter, keeping yourself top of mind for when that project does come up. They do research on it. They may not get to that project for 6 months. If you've been the one that's been sending the messages saying, hey, I'm here, here's a little more information as you prepare for your project. When they get to it, you're going to be the one that they think of. It's really about that attention, being top of mind, and with them looking at you as though you are a provider of value to their lives.
Sure. Now, there's two different things we're talking about. In my mind, we've got the campaign that when we have the information of the
Hmm.
content of the lead, then
Hmm.
we have and then there's the other side of it that we're trying to get that information. and you're trading. You mentioned the white paper trade for an email and so forth. But there's everything, and we've talked a lot about assets as far as being online and digital,
Mhm.
which is obviously the year we're in. But keywords play a big role in that.
Yeah.
So if I got some, say, I got some do-it-yourselfers out there right now, and we
Mhm.
know the professionals know it, and they know how to find them. How would they find the keywords I'm looking for? That when a keyword is a word that's being searched on the internet that your end user is looking for you and
Yeah.
the words that you're related to. So how's that go about being
This
able to?
is this is a subject that gets mixed up really often out there. Think of keywords as your ideal client profile's intent. So when you go on to Google and you're searching to find something, okay, you're
Hmm.
essentially asking a question of Google, like, how do I, what type of grout should I use for ceramic tiles, right? That's that phrase is actually a keyword, right? It's a
Okay.
long tail keyword, but it's a keyword. And so when you are creating content, whether it's blog posts or when you're building your website and you're saying what do, you want to be using those types of phrases and words in on your page so that when Google scrapes your page, so they send a bot to scrape it and pull all the information, they're going to rank your page for that search parameter. So if I'm answering the questions of my potential customers, if it's, what type of grout should I use, and you
Hmm.
have an article on your page, a blog article or a white paper, whatever it may be, that says, um, what type of grout should I use for ceramic tile in my kitchen? And then you answer that question, that's much more likely to pop up on Google when somebody makes that search because you have directly answered that keyword, that question that the consumer has. So the more you can build into your website where you are addressing the types of problem and pain that your customers have based on that intent, the more Google is going to rank you up and is going to provide your site as an answer to it. There's a couple other components to search engine optimization, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
There's some technical components like how fast your page loads, what the bounce rate is of your website. So I just did a webinar yesterday on this. If somebody comes onto your site and immediately leaves because it's ugly, outdated, they can't find what they're looking for, that sort of thing, Google will suppress your page. They won't show it because what they're determining is that you do not give a good user experience to the people that visit your page, and so they just won't recommend it.
So we're shining a light on why we need an expert to do this for us instead of do it yourself.
Yeah,
There's so many things out there
I
that you
mean,
got to
just
do.
just like what I was talking about
Yeah.
earlier, everybody can DIY this. It's a matter of how much work do you want to put into it. Like, is it worth your time as a business owner to be trying to figure out, learn, and then implement SEO or website design or anything like that when you're much better off going out and doing revenue producing activities like talking to new potential customers and doing the actual work that your customers are paying you for? Um, my argument would be that it's better to pay a specialist and you do the aspect of your business that you really love.
When it comes to marketing, it's a lot of testing
Hmm.
because because what you think is might be the best thing ever doesn't mean everybody's going to like it.
Yeah.
And I've got stories where people who put their ads out that are video, and matter of fact, my team forced them to do it. It's like I got to have a video. I don't want to. Well, you go and they hate it,
Yeah.
but it's the best advertising they've ever had, as
Hmm.
far as an ad goes. So the reason I bring that up is because over time, we've evolved, and there was text, and there was digital, and now we got YouTube, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Video is very important today. But what's the next step? I mean, you hear about AI, but AI can only do video, and I'm sure there's other things I guess involved. I don't know what it is, and I was wondering if you had any input on the next step of beyond video. we got visual,
Oh,
we got auditorial, and maybe it's that psychology thing you were talking about. I mean,
mhm.
there's still psychology today that
Yeah.
we don't know that it's being played, but it is. Maybe that's the mental. We'll get into the
So
mental side.
it's a really good and difficult question. Um, so virtual or augmented reality is probably the next phase, but we're not there yet. Um, so advertising in spaces where people are, whether it's the Meta's augmented reality, a virtual reality mask, that kind of thing, Meta Quest and Oculus. That's probably the next realm of advertising that we'll be moving into. Uh, I don't think it's anytime in the very near future, although the recent development of new technology by Microsoft, where they're able to process qubits, which is an entirely new methodology for processing data.
I've heard about it, and we don't. Yeah, we're not going to go into that
No,
because,
no, but
but you follow
think
me.
think of it
Anyway,
as taking our current processing power
yeah,
for, one of the biggest problems with virtual reality and stuff right now is it just feels hokey, right? It doesn't process fast enough for us to feel like we're truly ingrained in another world. What this type of data processing will allow us to do is massively upgrade the experience that we have in virtual and augmented reality, which may make the implementation of marketing in that arena significantly sooner. But for now, video is king. It's the highest conversion rate advertising you can do, because people want to see that you're a real human being. They want to connect. Like, there's a reason that TikTok is as successful as it is because it's unscripted. It doesn't feel like you're being sold a story. It feels like you are actually connecting with an individual who's being real on the other side. And that's what people are looking for. The most polished videos on TikTok do the worst. Whereas the ones that include screw ups and bloopers and those sorts of
overall
things,
type. Yeah,
they do really well because you're connecting with an individual. And so that's what you want to bring out in what you're doing from an advertising perspective. Is it should still look good, but it can't look so good that it looks fake, right? And a
yeah.
lot of this AI produced video and AI produced audio comes across, and we've developed an eye and ear for picking things out that aren't real.
Not quite
Some
right.
some people
Yeah,
have, and we steer away from those sorts of things. So there still is a drive for, just like we're doing right now, for podcast conversations, for people to be able to get information from people that showcase their own individuality and their reality.
speaking of podcast, I'm always looking for people to other contractors to come on. So taking that information, so if you had a podcast and we share ours, so you'll get a copy of this one, and you're going to use it in your social media, I would assume.
Certainly
I'm
am.
going to use it in my social media, as I assume. You can use that social media if you go on and make little snippets and so forth, and
Mhm.
make it in your social media. So very, very powerful.
Yep.
And you kind of rank yourself. We were talking about branding earlier. You make yourself to being the authority, the hero, not the hero, but the help me out here, not the authority, but the expert. Thank you,
Yes. Yeah.
expert of being. You're the man. You're being
Yeah.
interviewed or lady, and yeah,
Yeah, it works really well, and exactly as you said, cutting it up and using it for social media is a very powerful way to get your thought leadership out there and to build that authority. We do it regularly. We work with a number of podcasts where we will cut up their podcast recording and turn it into social media videos, and it works really well to draw that attention to those businesses.
one final question before we go. You talked about video and being live and so forth. I enjoy watching those little animations. I call them
Mhm.
little cartoons. Is that still effective today, or is it better to have a person? I'm sure some people don't like being in front of the camera. Is that a good
Yeah.
solution to their fear?
It's an alternative. It doesn't convert as well, but it works really well for brands that don't have
A
a
face?
single face, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so large financial organizations, as an example, or the mobile providers, those sorts of things, utilizing something where you can visualize yourself as the cartoon.
Mm,
It works really well. But if there's a possibility for an organization to have a face, to have somebody that represents it, it's more powerful to do that. So the animation aspect used to be really big, maybe 3 to 5 years ago. It was a lot of things were moving in that direction. But now, as demand has changed, and as
right.
people have really connected, they want to connect with an individual. I think a lot of it comes out of our lack of connection through COVID and everything. We're
Mhm.
looking for that interpersonal connection now, a break from the human to corporation. We want more human to human type of experience. I think that has resulted in us looking for the face of an organization, somebody that we feel we can hold accountable, rather than a cartoon, which comes across as a little less personal and more corporate.
Sure. My, this isn't for everybody, but when I have my marketing team, they tell me that we want to focus on personal branding. Even though I have my company brands, they want you to tie it together. They want to know that,
Yep.
oh, that's Chris G, and he has this, and if he has that, then that's a good thing, and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So personal branding is becoming more and more, I think, in right now being more important. Like you said, having that face with it. So
Absolutely. That's why I'm out here, right? That's
yeah,
why I'm on podcasts. Is the combination of the personal brand and the corporate brand. It's
yeah.
about bringing those two together.
Well, that being said, Warren, if somebody want to reach out to you and find out more about what you offer, how would they do that?
Yeah, you can email me at warren@pixeltrue.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Warren Miles Pickup. Again, there's only 8 miles pickups in the world, so if you look for me, you'll find me. On our website, so pixeltrue.com. And then our business is on all social media platforms, so wherever you go to look, you'll find us. But yeah, feel free to connect with me. I'm a value first type of person. So I want somebody to gain more in every interaction than I do. So if you reach out to me, I'm happy to answer any questions. There's never any hard sales pitch. I really want to help people grow. I feel that if I do, people tend to reciprocate, and I'm really looking to help as many people as I can.
Thank you, Warren. And as always, in the bottom of the show notes, you can find more information about Warren. And also, if you like anything we talked about today and want to discuss with me options that you have, and to become that CEO of your company, reach me in the link below. Warren, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And you said it's not raining today
No,
in
it's
Canada.
beautiful sunny day here.
All right. Well, enjoy that day, and then I guess get that park out or that little umbrella for your next time. So,
Thank you
all
very
right.
much.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
having me
much.
on the show.
All right. Bye bye.